All right, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Today I'm doing a solo review of the new Thayer St. James EP. It's got 6 tracks and it's called Bombshell. You know, since the retirement of Kiss, these Kiss-related recordings have taken on, I guess, a new importance. It's still cool to see any of the members of the group making music, particularly new music, releasing old music or re-releasing old music when it comes out on vinyl or in a different format, or perhaps remastered or expanded. We've seen quite a few of the Eric Carr Rockology and Unfinished Business reissues over recent years. I'm not going to cover those again because they've been done repeatedly. But this is the second Thayer St. James release. In 2022, they put out The Lost Tapes, which similarly was another EP. But those, just to bring up to speed for the project's releases, were 5 demos that had been recorded in October and November 1988. And they kind of cross or straddle the line between the end of Black and Blue as an active group. Obviously, they had released In Heat, their final, at the time anyway, studio album, which had been produced by Gene. Gone on tour, but the tour had not done well. They were basically playing clubs and very small venues. So really the group had never gained enough traction to keep going as an ongoing competitive project, regardless of what one thinks of the music. Now was I a Black and Blue fan back in the 1980s? Not particularly. I was aware of them. I saw the videos on MTV when they were played. I was aware of some of the hits. I've got all 4 of those LPs. Sitting in my LP rack, which I never go into because of my aversion to playing LPs. Got some, I think, duplication cassette masters from the manufacturing process for the debut. Got some demos as well. But do I label myself a Black and Blue fan? Absolutely not. So Black and Blue were really in a little bit of a quandary at this point. So according to those liner notes, Jamie and Tommy just started demoing up ideas. Now the songs included Sweet Sensation, American Man, Time, Ballad of the Bullet, and Work It. It gets interesting, and just to do a little tangent before talking about Bombshell, of course, American Man was Tommy's next musical project, a band that became active. I think they debuted on New Year's Eve in Portland. At the same time, Black and Blue was essentially doing a farewell show of 1989, and they toured performed in early 1990. They had, a pretty decent set list and got some pretty good reviews as a hard rock act with a bit more edge than Black and Blue had. All right, so they performed American Man live and Ballad of the Bullet as well. But, maybe there's a chance of Tommy having a American Man demo. Don't know if they ever hit the studio to record any material, but there are plenty of songs in the can. They also did cover a Rock Candy live and Chains Around Heaven. So those would be interesting to hear Tommy doing, at least for some people. I'm sure not all. There's additional unreleased material in the can from Black and Blue that has yet to surface publicly. They did a cover of Kiss's It's My Life. I think that was for the In Heat album. And they also had a co-written song with Ted Nugent called Survival, which is actually pretty good. And then some early outtakes such as Good and Evil that haven't, I don't think they circulate yet, but they would be nice to hear, treated properly and perhaps with a few more of the demos again. But of course, Black and Blue has had a couple of demo anthologies by now at this point anyway. So maybe we should do a episode of Look It's Rock and Roll podcast on our top 10 Black and Blue songs. Because I think that could be fun to have everyone revisit those studio albums. We were all around in the 80s, even those of us who became Kiss fans in mid-1985. So it would be fair enough to just reevaluate those 4 studio albums and see which 10 songs become our top picks. I know what mine would be. All right, but today I'm here to talk about Bombshell. New EP. At the Las Vegas event, Tommy did a listening party for the fans to hear the 6 tracks. And I'm not sure how much of the thing he played, whether it was the whole thing. It's only 20 minutes, so he could have done that and taken questions. I haven't seen any video on it yet, so what I'm going off is strictly my own interpretation, and my musical references are very personal. They're my musical references. When you hear these songs, if you buy it or get a copy, they're going to be your own, and I'm sure maybe they'll be different than mine, but that's okay. Tommy, of course, did guest with Black and Blue, who were performing again at the Vegas event. I think they've been on a cruise recently. He's guested with them during some benefits, so he still obviously has a very good relationship with Jamie. And I think the liner notes themselves speak to that relationship, and I'll just read these verbatim. The liner notes go, "Our story has always been about friendship first. From the beginnings of Black and Blue, before the tours, the records, the craziness of the 80s, we were 2 friends writing songs and chasing dreams together. That bond has never changed. Bombshell is the first release since the late 1980s that we've written and recorded new music side by side. We didn't come into it with a plan. We just wanted to get together, write, and see where it took us. The joy for us is in the process." That's actually pretty funny. Part of the process, as Doc McGee would say. And that's what has kept us coming back to it after all these years. These 6 songs are simply 2 best friends doing what we love most, creating and recording music together. That's where it started, and that's where it still lives. Tommy plays guitars, sings backing vocals. Jamie St. James is on vocals and drums. And Rob Dacre, is on bass. So, yeah, it's one half of Cold Gin reunited. Jamie used to perform as Peter Criss in Cold Gin on drums, and Tommy, of course, has performed as Ace Frehley, the spaceman, in Kiss. So they've got a very good musical sound on this EP. And for me, Black and Blue always had more of a European sensibility in the hard rock sound or realm. And quite a few of those sensibilities come across in here. But 40 years on from the 1980s, both of these guys have more miles on their clock, and they've got a broadened musical sense of who they are and what they like. And it all combines musically. No one's going to say that Black and Blue was the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's just not going to be said. They were a band that tried hard and had the breaks that they needed. They had Dieter Dierks for the debut. They had Bruce Fairbairn for the second album. Then they had 2 Gene Simmons produced albums. So they certainly had the producers. What they didn't have in many cases was consistent songs. And a consistency that translated into a push. They had the tours. They opened for Aerosmith on their Back in the Saddle tour in 1984. They opened for Kiss for what that was worth in the mid-1980s during a challenging period for that group's rebuilding their status. So they went on and they tried. These songs show 2 people that have refine their skills, both in terms of performance. Tommy's always been a great guitarist. He's been, a guy who was a session player who could do whatever it took at the time to serve the song. So he's got the chops. He's played enough of Ace's material over the last 20 years to be still very much in the groove as a solid guitar player as well. And I think he's learned a lot from doing 2 studio albums with Kiss, or 2.5 if you include Psycho Circus and his contributions there. So he certainly has it. Black and Blue, of course, has continued without him, and Jamie has continued to perform and write, and they did their last full-length album in 2011, I think it was, for Hell Yeah. And so they also have a single out. So both of them are very much veterans, in the sense that when you reach our age group, and their age group isn't that far off the rest of us, you're either very, very good at what you do, or you've given it up long ago, and they're still going. And what comes across in these songs is that to my ears anyway, they sound effortless. They really do sound like two friends who just got together and wrote songs without, oh, we have to have a song of this type, we have to have a song of this. It isn't calculated. It seems to be that they have started with the ideas and gone through and the normal songwriting process without the pressures attached with that. And I'm glad that they've reached a part where what they were doing just for fun was something that they felt that they could share with the wider public, because the moment you release it, you're going to have people doing podcasts pontificating and in some cases being cruel or deliberately nasty because they don't like something someone has done in their history. So enough of the setup. Let's get into the songs. Bombshell, the title track, kicks off the EP. And it's to my taste, it's a Bon Jovi-styled chorus. There are big gang vocals, which are always very welcome and always very signature for, I guess, the latter part of the 80s. And this one isn't trying to be anything other than a fun party anthem. That's all it is. I have a couple of problems with it. There's an orchestral sounding synth and flourishes that are totally out of place on this style of music for my tastes. But you can hear some acoustic guitar underpinning in parts, which really, it's one of those old tricks. It's one of Kiss's old tricks. It's one of Bachman-Turner overdrives as well when we're talking about Dress to Kill. So it's got those elements that make those guitars sound more vibrant, bigger in a sense, rather than relying just on pure volume or effects. It's a very natural effect to use. And there are some pretty cool and intelligent lyrics. They're a little bit all over the place in terms of it's not a consistent song in much as what I got out of it listening to it lyrically. It's like, oh, that's a cool verse. Well, okay, what's that about? That's a cool verse, but it doesn't seem to have a whole lot of meaning, which I guess is a good thing for rock and roll. So it makes it a little bit musically and lyrically a bit of a contradiction within a conundrum, but it keeps you engaged. And anything that's catchy, up-tempo, kind of happy, positive in most sense is going to be a good thing. So it's a decent kickoff song, but certainly not the best on the EP. Bulletproof. Where have I heard that title before? This one, though, has a big AC/DC style arena rock feel and has a very brooding riff. I love the pre-chorus, which again is very Leopard styled with its layers and textures. But we get a little bit of Tommy's monster sound with the solo and some of the crunchy rhythm guitars. And this is really tasty. It's just a very simple descending run coming out of the chorus. Nothing spectacular in terms of technicality. It just serves the song so perfectly well, and it stood out to my ears. So I really enjoyed that. The guitar solo, very nice. It's got a very nice bite and the pick attack, which is something I seem to pick up on more these days. So when I think back to Joe Perry, Rock's era, Toys era, just how he was attacking the guitar, and it changed dramatically for Draw the Line, where he was just like breaking, it sounded like he was almost breaking picks. I like that bite when it comes across. Time of My Life, third up, is a bit of a, for me, I'm going to call it a Bad Company vibe in the rhythm guitar realm. Now, you got to look through the layers for some of these. It's got that vibe, and it's got a very like throwback 1970s meat and potato rock verse. But then it transforms into a big 1980s LA positive uplifting chorus. It's a right banger. A very workman-like solo. Workman is not a negative word within this context. I'm calling it that because it's very budgeted and it's constrained. It's succinct. I like Tommy's vocal call-outs here. They're very nice and complimentary to the song. So, very good song. Probably my favorite are the next two. Tonight's the Night. And you can almost hear the cliche coming right from that title, but it never happens. This one, if it had rougher edges, could almost be New York Dolls-like in some parts, or maybe even Mott the Hoople. It's got a pop attitude. But sonically, it feels like it could have taken on more obvious brass, similar to Toys era Aerosmith in early 70s, hard rock, where brass was very much embraced as an embellishment to the sound. It's catchy as hell. It's a complete hybrid throwback, and it sounds fresh. But another little minor criticism from my tastes is that I think it could have sounded bigger. But nonetheless, it's got swagger and an outstanding solo, so that's one of my top picks. Tonight's the night. My other top pick is Magnetic, and this one's weird. I wanted to call it generic because it feels like a dozen things that I've heard before, but it's very catchy. It's very endearing. It motors, but it ebbs and it flows it's a big power rock mode type song that delivers with grandiosity. I mean, that's a little bit of word salad, but it's big. It's strange. It's very, very creative. Incredibly so. So this is a song that really illustrates both of these guys' experience and taste, I think, very much so. So if you do get a chance, do give this one particular attention, in my view. I think one criticism here is the drums, and the miking or the sound is super tight, and I think bigger sounding drums with more reverb, more Bonham-y kind of sound there would have given it an even more bombastic sound, and I think it deserves that. I'm not thinking Eric Carr Creatures bombast. I'm just thinking a bit more reverb and less tightness on that, as particularly the snare, super tight, mid 80s. Last song up, and that's going to be I Wanna Fly. And those drums at the intro immediately had me thinking of Mick Tucker and the Sweet, and I think that they would approve. It's a really good setup, that beat that's got going, but this song has a super punky pop vibe, replete with really nice harmonies, backed with crunchy minimalist chording. So another very good song. All in all, I've got 3 of the 6 that I think are outstanding, and the other 3 are very good. None of them are trash, which is always, and none of them felt like filler. None of them felt underdeveloped. Sure, I've mentioned a couple of things that I would like for my tastes, but this is Tommy and Jamie's tastes being presented. So, I think overall it's a very successful EP. The artwork is very colorful and engaging. It's big and it's bold. I think it matches the music very well. So we'll leave it with, I guess if you miss the 1980s or you simply want some good time throwback rock, even with a bit of modern aesthetics, give the EP a shot. You might even forget that you're in 2025 for 20 minutes. And that is a good thing at this point. So embrace the music. Let the music envelop you. And let's see what these guys have up their sleeve next.